Hello and welcome to this video. My name is Milind Date and I'm an expert tutor for the Advanced Performance Management Examination. In this short topic explainer video, I would sensitize you on how the topic of complex business structures is tested in the APM examination. Remember, it's not a teaching video, but this will help you in developing your answers to ensure a pass. On the whole, if you see, the performance measurement and management is built around the way the organizations are structured. And with the business becoming global and also the related evolution of remote management techniques, the setting of performance management system has undergone tremendous change. The systems will have to be aligned to the business structure to be effective in the true sense of the term. And therefore, students who are taking APM examination should therefore be well prepared to understand the linkage and be ready to identify, assess, and evaluate the benefits and challenges that are faced by complex business structures. I'm sure after watching this video, you will be able to effectively plan and structure your answers on this topic to ensure a pass or even to maximize the marks that you would be getting. This video would cover the syllabus areas related to this topic, the questions in the past examination on this particular topic, and also learnings from the way the examiner has put the comments. The section of syllabus underpins the knowledge that is drawn from strategic planning and control, performance management, information systems, and measurement. Now, this particular part of the syllabus related, of course, to complex business structures, section D, it primarily focuses on performance evaluation using various models and frameworks, and also evaluating the performance of complex business structure. And that's what we are going to concentrate the area in this particular video. So section D of the syllabus relates to performance evaluation, and D2 specifically relates to complex business structures. Well, it's not just sufficient to understand the types and structures of the complex business organization, but you should be able to associate the performance management issues such as planning, controlling, and measuring the performance. Indicative examples that are included could be on the issues such as productivity, profitability, quality, and service levels. Business models that are referred to within the syllabus area are specific. They are joint ventures, strategic alliances, and complex supply chains. So before you start, your exam question practice, you need to prepare yourself very well and try and understand the learning objectives, which are all at intellectual level 3, meaning that they will assess the students on their ability to synthesize and evaluate from the given information. The first learning objective related to this area is to discuss problems encountered by an organization related to planning, controlling, and measuring of performance. And the second area specifically talks about the business model issues, which I enlisted a few minutes ago. So how do you prepare yourself? Well, you should go through the chapter number 16 from ACCA Study Hub, which very well sets the context of your learning on this topic. It tells you what the complex business structure means, reasons for forming such different forms or different structures, and what could be certain issues that are related to performance management and measurement. Because ultimately, the complex business structures also have a common objective to achieve. Although their physical existence may be separate, the objective to be achieved is common. So the performance management and measurement system must be aligned to that. So before we step on to see how this topic is tested, we will definitely need to look at the business structures, which traditionally are built based on functions or divisions of products, but mainly modern business organizations are networked organizations, where activities that are internally aligned together, and also there are activities that have external arrangements. These newly created business networks will aim to create and sustain value. And with the structures becoming a bit more complex and also at times virtual, organizations need to tackle the problem of objectively measuring as well as managing performance. Performance may be related to all parts of the business, so that achievement or otherwise, of course, of common objective would be assessed. There could be arrangements which produce and supply different parts of the value chain to the organization, but that also needs to be set in a way where company can objectively measure and manage its performance. So two aspects are really important. One, the associated problems that come inherently with the complex business structure, basically because of the complexity involved in arranging them. And second, the impact that they could have on organizations' performance. See, basically, if things become too complex at times, it becomes really difficult for those who are responsible for performance to actually see who should be held responsible for what type of a performance, who's accountable and responsible for performing certain functions. In traditional organizations, it's a bit easy, but otherwise it becomes really difficult. Based on this learning that you would achieve after learning chapter 16, you need to be told how this topic would or would not be tested. So let's look at how it is not tested for. There won't be any direct question which is related to benefits and challenges of different types of structures. So there won't be a question like, okay, advantages and disadvantages of joint venture, or compare and contrast whether joint venture is better or a strategic alliance is better. No, that's very, very rarely possible. But what is tested? Basically, you need to understand, of course, based on the specimen examination and the past examinations, the assessment is centered around these two requirement types. One, problems that are associated with an external organization, being a part of your network, making the business structure really complex. And second, the two areas of performance measurement and management, how the complex business structure systems are set and what impact that system could create actually on the performance. So examining team has definitely given a guidance when framing the syllabus and study guide. One of the section B question will be mainly from the syllabus section D, which is this topic. Examiner will not, of course, directly provide you any reference to the type of complex structure always. No. But there will be enough information given to you which will help you to understand the complexities involved and the bearing that they could have on the company's performance as well. So let's see, with the help of maybe a couple of sample questions, how this topic is tested, what should be our approach, and what are the common pitfalls that examiner have identified and commented upon. I'm picking up one question which goes like this. Of course, I have summarized some information for the sake of convenience and understanding from the given exhibits. Question 2 was based around a new university that had been set up by two separate universities via a joint venture model. Now, this is specifically telling you what type of complex business structure is. There are two universities forming a new university as a joint venture, set up in some country, where one of the universities is currently operating, but the other is from a different country. And the question is, discuss problems that will be encountered in managing and measuring performance in the joint venture. The verb used is discuss. So merely identifying the problems is not going to be sufficient. No. You should comment on how the identified problem is likely to impact both the management and measurement of performance. Now again, if the students have prepared very well on all parts of the syllabus, they are so enthused to go on writing whatever they know about a joint venture. That's the danger. Because that approach would not lead you to get marks. This question is there for 16 marks, remember. So you need to write at least 10, 12 relevant points or 8 very well explained points, avoiding generic discussion. And when you are going to identify a problem and start discussing it, you need to support your discussion with evidence from the exhibits. Now, I will, of course, look at the examiner comments, and through that, we will understand how students either achieved this or missed out on answering the exact requirement. So let's look at examiner comments. The examiner stated that despite their good performance on this question, there were some candidates didn't manage to score well. So it was a mixed kind of a reaction from the examiner. Poor performance. Now, this is where preparers, learners would concentrate more, so that once you achieve the poor performance pitfalls, your answer automatically becomes stronger and to the point. It was usually based around one of the two problems. So there are two performance areas that, answers that were identified. One, there was a misunderstanding that about the organization that was being considered in the requirement. And this organization was joint venture university. Students went on to comment on the performance of the two or problems faced by two individual universities. So maybe 1 or 2 points one could get right, and you may get some mark, but you may not necessarily score a pass in this. This was a very, very crucial aspect. You were asked about joint venture and not about the individual university. And the second problem was in brevity. Students wrote so briefly, so less that markers could not, be justified to give any marks for them. Now, of course, for example, it is stated by the examiner, stating that the two universities setting up a joint venture have different objectives. Well, the point is correct. The two universities may have different objectives. But if you write only this much, you're not going to score marks. Especially because this was stated in the scenario that you need to identify issues related to joint venture. So the discussion could have been on how having different objectives will lead to problems. What could be the problems? Problems could be on creating a common strategy that can work. Problems could be setting up KPIs, which help measure the performance of the venture. And that's something that will score you marks. And this is a real key, as the examiner has said, about attempting APM questions. So, repeating the features of the organizations is not, again, going to score marks for you. The example that I quoted is self-evident. Let's look at one more example. Now, this is regarding, again, two companies which have their own individual information systems. One has advanced computerized system, whereas the other, the systems are very basic and parts of it are in fact manual. And the two company systems are unable to communicate with each other seamlessly, naturally. And therefore, the staff has suggested that there has to be a formal service level agreement. Service level agreement is something which is part and parcel of any networked organization. And this sort of an arrangement spells out very clearly what would each partner be doing, what are the roles and responsibilities, how the information will be shared, etc. And the question was assessment of the problems that may be faced by one of the company in developing a service level agreement with the other company. So the crux here lies in identifying the problems, and accordingly you should set up a service level agreement, because the impact of these problems could be faced once the SLA is reached, it's put in place and it starts getting used. Now, I'll use a little different approach at the moment. Let's look at two sample answers. We have now understood the requirement. Let's look at two sample answers. Sample answer 1. There is a problem with identifying which company is responsible for goods being faulty, and this may be a problem in SLA. Now, what is the marker supposed to do? You have been too brief. You just made a point without supporting anything. It's a generic point. And I'm afraid this will not help you score marks. Look at this similar point, but expanded, elaborated, evidence, everything put together in small paragraph, short sentences. Look at it. There's a problem in identifying which company is responsible. Look at the selection of the word for goods being faulty. One company produces goods and the other certain significant features to produce the end product. So parts of the product are produced by the two organizations. Now, the problem is identified. The first para identifies it. Second para, in terms of SLA, company who is trying to make the SLA must ensure that the goods that it receives are defect-free, and should either look for evidence from the other company's own quality control system or the company's own quality control measures before the goods leave the supplier's factory. Now, this is application of commercial acumen. This is application of your understanding of the situation and the correct way in which you could expand your previous paragraph. And this is where you may score 1 mark. That's not enough. Look at what the answer spells out further. What would this make? What would be this leading to? This will ensure that quality of the product that the company making SLA would receive, but in terms of SLA, would impose very strict conditions on the supplying company, which may not be acceptable to them. Now, this is a real problem. And this actually could stand out as a barrier for agreeing to SLA from the supplier side. Only identifying problem and leaving it there, no marks. Identifying it, elaborating it with evidence, and concluding it, 3 paras, small sentences. That's what is going to help you score marks. Let's see what the examiner had to say on this. The best way to answer this part would have been identify the area that could be a problem, referencing the SLA, explain why it is or it could be a problem, and assess the extent to which the problem exists. Like for example, the last para said that this could be a potential barrier in accepting this. So it's very important for us to be cautious. I understand what's being asked and be precise in our preparations so that we are able to tackle any sum possible. So in summary, we need to understand from the scenario and exhibits the type of the arrangement and the terms and conditions of the arrangement that is being made out between the network partners. Then, if at all the requirement requires, we should be specifically identifying problems that can put in danger the implementation of the service level agreement or any arrangement you may call it as, and its impact on performance. And if required by the examiner, of course, we need to suggest possible solutions as well. So, a topic of business structures and complex business structures may seem in a way superfluous because it just talks about certain types of complex structures, but you need to be very clear when learning what could be the problems from the angle of measuring and managing performance. So that's it in this video from my side. And I'm sure with this video, you will be able to start preparing and practicing well for your examination. But before I close out this video, let me again remind you, don't miss out on using ACCA resources on the Study Hub, practice questions from the practice platform, and the last, but the most important thing, don't forget technical articles. Thank you for watching this video and all the best for your preparations.